What's happening? What's happening? We back. Coffee for Your Soul, Season 2, Episode 5. We talking about cancel culture and its impact with my brothers. Avi, what up?
What's going on, Brethren? What's up? What's up? Welcome.
Tet the Professor, what's up?
What's the deal? Pickle?
Black Maxim, what's up?
Better.
So what's happening, fellas? It's been a minute. We had a week extra off. How y'all doing?
Ain't nothing, man. Just coming off the Princess Zamunda vibe, you know.
Cobra, is it cold out in Texas, man?
Yeah, it's supposed to drop down to, I think, like 40 or something today. They had some old weird weather last night. It rained, and then there was hail, and then I thought there might be a tornado at the same time. I don't know what's going on.
Did you jump in your tub?
Hey, Jesus got something for Texas. He like, let me sprinkle a little cold weather on you. Let me sprinkle a tornado on you. Y'all got to get it together. He moving his hands just like that.
So it's been a minute, man, since we got a chance to chop it up. Everybody been working hard, doing their thing. We have a new entrepreneur in the house, Mr. Black Maxim in the house. Entrepreneur, what up?
Are you? Is it official?
It's official, baby. It's official.
I have left Big Brown. Now the Big Brown is me.
And the first thing you got on is a nuclear sign on your chest, huh? That's how you
with a bullet hole to the heart.
Getting real. He said, I got a lot of power in here. It's clean energy.
Let me
I
tell
got
you,
it,
man.
huh?
As most any entrepreneurs, and I'm not saying that I've only been doing it for a minute now. It is exhilarating and absolutely terrifying. So, but you know, nothing like a little fire under your ass to get your ass up to class, you know. So it's everything blessed, man.
That's right.
Yeah. Speaking about entrepreneurs, you know, as you go through the journey, I would say just be thankful and grateful for the journey. Don't categorize something as one way or the other. Just know that it's part of the journey and enjoy the ride, and that'll allow you not to be, you know, moved in so extremes to the left or extremes to the right. You take it as something that you're supposed to have at the moment that you're supposed to have it, and you'll be good.
Sound like a Jedi master with those tips.
He's a Jedi, man. You know, he used to walk around with his sword, bro. You already know that. You know what I'm saying?
In class.
In class.
At Catholic school.
Don't try to hype it up.
He was scared of the priest.
What you said at that counter? What you said?
Y'all had me suspended for 18 years. Hey, as a matter of fact, as we talk about cancel culture, though, did we ever get canceled and put in suspension while we were in high school? Did anybody ever get a suspension?
Suspended?
Yeah. Wasn't I on suspension with you, Cobra, one time?
Me and Max were together. Me, him, and Muhammad, and me and Kobler in one time in the cafeteria.
I'm trying to remember what did we get suspended for?
I got suspended for fighting.
Who were you fighting, bro?
I fought somebody in class, in the middle of class, bro. I did some straight. Actually, that would have been a world star moment if we had cell phones.
What? That's what I'm trying to remember. Like, what were we getting suspended for, though?
I remember I was in class and some kid, I don't want to bring up no names, was talking smack, and he was getting smart and, you know, real smart out the mouth. I don't know what he was thinking. And I gave him one chance. I gave him another chance. Then I just got up, walked around to his side, and just started wilding on him.
Oh, that's so wild.
And then after I finished, I looked at who was the teacher at the time. I looked at the teacher. I was like, I apologize. I'll take myself to the principal. I went straight to at the time Spencer. Dean Spencer.
Yeah.
I said, I'll go to the dean. That's why I went to. And then, you know, Spencer was like a football coach. So he's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I got in a fight. He's like, what are you talking about?
We need you in your pads in 2 hours.
Hey, them suspensions were the original cancel culture. We were canceling ourselves right on into suspension. That's what we was doing.
Hey,
They thought they were gonna see us a lot. They only saw us a couple
They ain't
times.
see us that much. We weren't in suspension that much.
no, we
But
weren't.
I do remember the time. I think the time that you talking about, John, where we got canceled and suspended. There was a whole bunch of us in there.
Was
We
it Miss
were all deep
Nine?
in
Was it
that.
Miss Nine?
Remember we got the we got the burgers in the back, and me and you got the French fries. Like, we taking this home.
What? What?
We took the burgers. We took the burgers that was in the back that was left over
In the
from
cafeteria.
and they had the Haribo freaking gummy bear box.
Oh, I love those.
Oh,
Catherine's
man.
So
hijacking
terrible.
hijacking the cafeteria, B.
All right, so we got a very good topic tonight. So cancel culture and its impact. But before we jump into that, I want to kind of talk about some current events that's been going on that since the last time we had our show, which was we got a chance to do the watch party for Coming to America. What did you guys think of the movie, by the way?
I liked it, man. I personally enjoyed it. I don't know. A lot of people were saying it was okay. I thought it was good. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Max?
You know, I think once again, I don't know what people were expecting. Were they expecting the Avengers to come out and Thanos to be like, "Where is someone?" You know, like looking for Black Panther. You know, what were you expecting? You know, it's a movie from the '80s that was a cult classic hit. It's one of the, total amazing cast, and it was Memberries. If for those South Park watchers, a lot of it was about kind of like reliving nostalgia. But once again, you had classic comedians, great actors. I mean, James Earl Jones, God bless. I hope he stay around as long as possible because they leave him. So I thought it was an amazing touchback to it's hard to do a sequel after 33 years. Let's just put that there. So
Pretty
I think at the end of the day, they performed and they did a really good movie. It was enjoyable.
Cole, what you think?
I thought it was just all right. I thought it was just okay. I like the nostalgia and all that part, all the stuff that they put in there. That was cool. But in terms of like, funny, I don't know how many scenes I thought were hilarious. And then the other part was, it was more so the storyline. Like, I was like, I agree. Like, after 33 years, you create a storyline that's going to have a flow, try to tie in all of the stuff from the previous one. That's a little difficult. But like the little joint with like the barber falling in love with the guy, I was like, that's a bit of a stretch. But you know what I mean? Hey, I'm happy. Oh, I tell you, I am happy for us. Eddie Murphy's the same way that I would do if I had a whole bunch of resources with y'all. I'd be like, hey, I'm making a movie. Come on, get in this $5 million. I'm about to put you in here as a barber. And Max would be like, I ain't never played a barber in my life. Shut up and take this money and get this money in the barbershop. Like they would have like, ain't no concerts in the movie. It's gonna be a concert in this one. Dimitri, I'm gonna pay you $2 million. I need you to do the concert. They'd be like, the concert don't even follow the storyline. Shut up. Take the $2 million.
Hey,
you make this money. That's
give me
exactly
$5,000. I'll play Trump. I don't care. I need some money.
You see, they bought your boy Rick Ross in there for a small cameo.
Right, for a hot second there.
But it was his house. They gave him like $5 million for it.
Yeah, like $2.5 million, and he negotiated a cameo too. He's like, I'll do it for 2.5 in a scene.
You talking about the house? What was that? The house in Atlanta?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what else we want to talk about, Max? What's going on in the current events, brother?
Oh man, we got so many current events going on. Topic of the show, cancel culture. It's here we are. A few months into the new administration. Signs look pretty promising regarding the pandemic that's kind of shaped our lives globally. And I think what you're seeing now is, kind of to tie it into cancel culture. Right now, a lot of people have been vaccinated. If I remember correctly, I might be wrong, but I think it's at least 10%, if not a little bit more now, of the U.S. population that's been officially completely vaccinated. Long way to go, but better than it was earlier. And, people have their reservations about vaccines, and I don't judge on that. I'm not one who pokes fun at people who are skeptical about vaccines. Frankly, once again, in the Black community, it's been stated enough. yeah, we're a little bit skeptical about government medical programs. But end of the day, you got to follow the science. Trump, to his credit, I don't know if it's to his credit because he didn't really come out and say it of his own accord. He had to kind of be pushed on it. But when he was asked about, should people get the vaccine, because a lot of his supporters, especially his male supporters, and statistics, kind of just a fact: 4 out of every 5 white men in the U.S. are Republican. So that's a majority chunk of the population are very adverse to getting this vaccine. And end of the day, for us to get to herd immunity as a country, definitely as a human race, from this crazy virus that's out here, you have to follow the science. You can conspiracy theory and imagine away all these things going on, but end of the day, if you don't know, you don't know. So you kind of got to follow the science. And by him saying that, my hope is a lot of his, crazy ass, nutball, idiotic, stupid supporters. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I just marginalize Trump supporters? I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. Not all of them are bad people. I'm sure there's some on good. You have good points too. There's good people on both sides. But hopefully, what that will do is just kind of. Well, Trump said to get the vaccine, so I don't know what to do because if I get it, then Biden looks good, but Trump told me to do it, and I'm just kind of a cultish slave to Trump. So I'm gonna go get that vaccine. And you know what? I think that's a good thing. You get it out there, get people to take it. Again, I'm not going to be the advocate for getting vaccines. If you're in a situation where you're not very susceptible, where you're not going out, we've seen some results that have been happening. I think it's the AstraZeneca vaccine. It's kind of early and preliminary, but they've seen that. Kobe, what the hell am I looking at, man? I gotta look at your gas tank. What you using? 93? He using 87. That's Kobe. Kobe ain't even no 93. Look,
hey, listen, you
judging my gas.
I'll tell you what, you gonna cancel your culture. You pump gas with a cell phone, boy. You can blow up.
They say that.
If it's my time, it's my time.
All right. Tonight on Coffee for Your Soul, live viewing of Cobra Tete, flying to Mars.
We gonna show you the ultimate cancel. Watch this.
Yeah.
and there ain't no coming back.
But yeah, other current events. Speaking of gas stations, we saw another situation of just you can't even call it police brutality, but just it's a hard job being a cop. I wouldn't want it. It's split-second situations. But man, when you are wielding a firearm, you have to be ultra careful. You're at a gas station.
What happened?
Talking about what happened. I think it was in Texas recently.
I don't know.
Where there was
enlighten us.
There was a carjacking suspect that was fleeing from the police. He ran basically through a gas station and was passing, I guess, by a car, and the cops began to fire at him to subdue him or kill him. And once again, he's carjacker, not a good guy, but they take in people for a lot worse and talk them down when they're of a certain persuasion. But anyway, cop stray bullet hits a 1-year-old in its skull.
Oh no!
Man.
Sitting in the car, mom was crying. Benjamin Crump's like, "Ooh, call me, baby. You're gonna make that money."
That's
but
crazy.
End of the day,
wow.
I hope she does, because her 1-year-old, now the child survived. Child is in, I believe, stable, critical, kind of that in between. I'm not a doctor, but it's no longer in the most critical, but it's absolutely in intensive care. Swelling on the brain, they're releasing that, so the child will live with trauma that I couldn't even imagine is ingrained in its psyche forever. The mother, thank God, didn't have to bury her young black son at 1. At least give him a couple years, right? Police. So my thing is, it was random. It wasn't like the cop was trying to kill him, but it kind of goes back to the whole Black Lives Don't Matter. You in a black neighborhood, you chasing a criminal through the hood, through the gas station. Let's just shoot him so we can go home and be done with this. He might have a gun. I don't even want to think about it. They need to really practice. And it's not even a de-escalation issue there, because he might have been a violent criminal, but man, y'all gotta be careful, man, because would you do that in Beverly Hills? Would you pop off in Beverly Hills?
That's shooting shooting in a public place when at a suspect, that's always crazy, man. And I saw another video recently too where they did another shooting like that. It was a traffic stop, and they it's like sometimes they even catch themselves in a crossfire. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
just so, and I get it, man. Sometimes someone pulls a gun, you don't got a time to look around and see who's behind and who's next, but you kind of got to position yourself in a strategic manner when you're doing that, and kind of look at the scene before you engage. I would think, because the one I saw was in a residential neighborhood. No one else got hit but the actual suspect. But that's dangerous, man.
The
That's dangerous.
military calls it situational awareness.
Right.
Unfortunately, when they're in communities of color, a lot of these police,
Goes out the
they do
door.
not look at us as the citizenry they're there to protect. They look at us as, hey, I'm going into a battle zone. Anyone could be my enemy here. And,
Well, I
there's
don't
an
think it's.
element
I
of
think
that.
so. I don't know if I think it's going to the battle zone. I think it's a genuine fear, and the fear is perpetuated by media and a lot of different other stereotypes. And until you quell that, or you really hinge at those stereotypes and those biases that individuals have and don't always realize they have, it affects decision making. And a prime example of that was I was at the gym the other day, and this white dude I talked to, he's like, man, I like to put people in conversations where they really have to think about their biases. He said, he thought about if you were to tell him there's somebody breaking into your house, what's the first thing that you think about? And he said he realized he had a bias because his first thought was that it would be a black person or a person of color. You know what I mean? And he questioned that within himself. Now, everybody's not, open and willing to do that. But my point being is just, I think there's a lot of fear caused by guilt, to be 100% candid. So back to you, Max.
Yeah, no,
No, please.
my bad, not to, but to spin off what you just said, Colby. I think that's true. But I think that's true for everyone. Kind of like that experiment when they I'm sure I'm assuming we all saw it when they have the dolls. They show the kids
Yeah,
the
back in the
dolls,
day.
and they say which one is more likely to be mean or aggressive or whatever, and even the black kids pick the black doll, and
Yeah.
I think that's just like you said, is just in our culture to assume the worst is done by melanated people. That has a lot to do with film, that has a lot to do with music, that has a lot to do with media, and that also has a lot to do with poverty. Let's keep it real. Like, in those neighborhoods, we know a crime it takes place the most in where the have-nots tend to reside, white or black or any other thing. So, but that's changing. That's changing, and it has to change.
So when
But
we talking about cancel culture, man, like what was that called in our day?
what was it
It was
called?
it, was- it, was-
I don't think.
it was called you hung up on somebody. You just banged on her. I don't want to talk to you no more. Because we didn't have all the avenues to be able to say, oh, they're canceling this person, because those things were they're exacerbated by the media. So you know what I mean? I don't know if we had that same thing. Cancer cancer culture was she just ain't call you back. You know, you know yeah. So I don't, I don't know if it's to the same level. And I think kids are, or we not. Let me not say kids, but people are so reliant on something else to give them a message or validation that, when somebody's like, oh, they put messages out there that are against that. We're like, oh, it's cancel culture. They don't like you anymore. That doesn't stop you from doing whatever you're gonna do for yourself. But when you put weight on it or you give it that type of value, then it does. So I'm not sure if there's an equivalent. I can't think of an equivalent.
I don't think there's an equivalent either. I mean, we could talk about, actually, there's different levels of cancel culture. There's cancel culture within your own little ecosystem of friends and society. Like, and let's just say for a high school, you can, or someone can get kind of bullied, and I'm not gonna, it's not the same as cancel, but someone can be, yeah, I guess you can be canceled from being bullied and kind of isolated from your peers. And then we have the level where we have the political cancellation, where somebody's canceled for making a statement that is not exactly considered politically correct, and then some people validly do something that is grotesque or obscene or otherwise, and they end up being canceled. But
Well, do you
compare,
remember? Oh, go on.
I'm not, just to spit it off, to go back to John's question, it didn't really exist as much back then because we didn't have social media. So if you got canceled, you got canceled in your classroom, pretty much in your class.
Maybe let me bring it back. Y'all forgot. Banned in the USA. I was
yeah.
That was cancel culture. That was an early revision of it. Now, what did it come from?
Cope, did he just sing?
Yeah, he did just sing. Hey, no, but you're right. That's a good point. Like censorship and like NWA, because that was all that time, and they were trying to say, "Oh, they can't put out there." But that was a
Larry Flint.
That was the religious groups. Remember, that was a
See,
religious group saying,
still is,
right, saying that this was morally imprehensible.
But listen, let's tie it into what just happened at the Grammys. Okay.
I don't know what happened at the Grammys.
I didn't watch it, but I saw the video, and let me tell you, I liked it. But I liked it for the wrong reasons. It was for the wrong reasons. It doesn't belong.
It was a dry run porn scene.
Listen,
I
was waiting to hear the Pornhub, beginning, because at the end of the day, I'm watching on screen. I'm like, hold up, I didn't even click on that. Like, what are we? I get it, freedom of expression, female liberation, whatever you want to call it. End of the day, there's some things that are a little bit too lewd, in my opinion. But I guess in my opinion, right? That's the big one. Who cares about my opinion? Who am I? But that being said, there is an element where media and entertainment, I mean, that's always the flux, right? What was acceptable 10 years ago, or what wasn't acceptable 10 years ago is more acceptable now, right?
Even when you talk about, the thing that pops in my head when you talk about lewd is, the reason things are lewd is because American culture has pushed sexuality as something that you're not supposed to embrace. So, when you go to, like, have you guys ever looked at like commercials in other countries and you're like, oh, that's look like a soft porn? That's because it's no big deal. We make it a big deal, so then it becomes something when it's expressed. So, I would challenge, like, is that because? No, I don't think challenge. I'm just presenting it to the group. Like, I think a lot of that stems from the fact that we're so like, don't tell anybody about this and don't express that, and if you do, it's bad. So typically that's the shadow side. When people push something extremely hard, typically they move like that in the background and they're trying to suppress something. But anything you suppress, it's going to come out. So I would love to get your thoughts on that. Just if you think about that.
No, I agree with you as far as our culture suppressing things, making things taboo, therefore making it, more like you said, shadow, but natural in essence. But as particular from what we were talking about with the Grammys, you're talking about primetime television. A Grammy is an iconic show. Dealing with our music culture, et cetera, you're gonna have kids watching it. And I don't know if two women, basically, like you said, simulating a scissor on stage, primetime television is appropriate for the venue.
Wasn't the venue. There you go. Know your audience.
Yeah, know your audience. But again, I see that also as the Grammy last time, they went and gave this year, I gotta say, they gave a lot of black folk awards. Yeah, but remember last time they gave it to us for It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp. You know what I mean? And then you had Hard Out Here for a Pimp. And again, that's fine. I got no problem with it. It was
Hard Out Here for a Pimp.
So again,
Coffee for Your Soul supports pimping.
But we going to say that because we're talking about cancel culture, and if you're gonna say cancel culture,
you're right.
What's worse than? You're gonna cancel Pepe Le Pew, but you're gonna have Cardi B.
But please, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. when Pepe Le Pew was doing that stuff on the cartoon, I was like, he's a little aggressive.
He was.
He's aggressive. Hey,
He's
every time,
French.
hey, the girl is trying to get away every single
every way
time.
pushing
That
off.
Pepe Le Pew is the quintessential. Hey, I don't know about you all's parents, but I know my parents used to watch cartoons and be like, "There's a lot of sexual innuendos in cartoons," and they would not let me watch some of those. That's cancel culture. My parents said, "You ain't watching this." Hey, so that you know what I mean? That's a part of it. But no, Pepe was a little loose. Let's not get it
Pepe
twisted.
was.
He was loose.
No, he was, but
That's hey,
again,
Dimitri. That's why that's why there was only one Pepe Le Pew cartoon for every 75 Bugs Bunny cartoons. They knew he was reckless.
no,
They
it
were like,
was.
we can't have this guy on all day, man.
We can't have this dude on all day.
He's a little rapey.
But again, it's like where this is what I want to. This is where I want to say like. This cancel culture shit just came out of nowhere, right? And I personally think it's just another distraction, another catchphrase to start censoring things that sometimes don't even need to be censored, just to create political ammunition on both sides, because it's becoming political, right? It's really becoming political on who thinks and what should be culture. Every time somebody does something, like if your sheriff calls a black man a nigger and he gets fired, that's not cancel, bro. That you can't use that as cancel culture, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But for and again, you look at Dr. Seuss, right? They make it look like it's a big deal. Look, I don't have no problem with them editing the illustration and changing the pictures.
Yeah, just take the picture.
Why you gotta? That's why. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. They made it a big deal. Like they want the headlines. Like simply check. You don't even have to make that announcement. Simply come in your together as your in your board meeting and say, look, you know, things are getting more sensitive here. We're realizing some of our illustrations are outdated and a little bit of may offend certain people, may or may not. You know, we've had it for 40 years and no one's complaining about it. But if we're going to do it, let's do it. And then you go to your art department and you say, hey, book A, B, C, page 2, 4, 9, 20, 32, and 62. We need to change the art. And that's it. You don't need a headline, cancel culture all over the news.
You don't.
That's all because it's becoming a thing and they want it to be a thing.
Well, I know. And I agree with you. It becomes a distraction. I think the other thing is like random note. Did you know Dr. Seuss posthumously makes he's second to Michael Jackson in terms of making money?
No.
Did not know that.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, bro. That's a lot of money.
Think Dr. Seuss, you ain't never seen him. He was around before our time, but we've seen all the books.
Yeah. All the books.
Got
the books now. Everything digital now.
And their books are great. I don't see no problem with it. Again, the illustration can simply be changed. It didn't need to make headlines. You just the next time your kid buys a book, it's a different picture. No one knows.
Can I get another picture?
Huh?
The Jigaboo, who are you? He says who? How do you do it? Like, wow.
But you know the thing about that is, you know what is kind of quintessential and an essence in all this is we also do need to be able to embrace change. I think you make a great point, Dimitri. It's like, hey, just put the thing and change the picture and the illustration and keep the party going. The issue is individuals will be like, well, it's a book and it's steadfast and that's man. Everything changes. Go ahead and adjust the joint and keep the party moving.
Dude, look what they did to Aunt Jemima.
Right.
See, but that's another thing. I disagree with all that too, because guess what? You're walking down the aisles now, and all the brothers and sisters that was on the food things are gone. You got Aunt Jemima's gone. You got Uncle Ben's gone.
I think I'm okay with that one.
I'm not okay with it. I'm not okay with it, man. There's no reason for him. Listen, did you ever walk? Honestly, guys, did you ever walk down the aisle and be like, Aunt Jemima, damn, man, we looking bad on this stuff? No. Like, what's the point of that?
I never bought Aunt Jemima because first of all, it wasn't all that good.
Log cabin.
But second, so at one time I was in Atlanta and I went to, as Max knows, this place called The Beautiful. And I remember walking in The Beautiful and the wait staff was dressed up like Aunt Jemima. And I looked around like, what the
They love
this?
You know, listen, you bring up a good point, Cobra, because when we talk about cancel culture, right? And when the right issues it on the left, if you want to get into the politics of it, because it seems that's kind of everything nowadays, There's no hubbub, and the left will bend. They'll turn and twist and do whatever because they don't want to. They don't want to push. The left is such pussies and wusses. I can't. That's why I don't identify as a Democrat because they're so willing to bend over and just take it and twist and turn just for conservative sensibilities and Republican sensitivities. You flip it on the other side and you do it against someone who identifies as conservative. Oh my God, the backlash! They're trying to cancel it by First Amendment. It's insane. I want to bring up a couple of items because the Republicans on cancel culture they have a funny way of complaining about it when it's on them, but when they do it, it's no big deal. So, for example, you remember Al Franken? He had some off-putting pictures. He was doing something that was a little bit stupid. He shouldn't have done it. Wasn't the craziest, loudest thing, but the Democrats, hey, they canceled him just because it was brought up. So that wasn't even a Republican. That's Democrats canceling themselves. But look at the Republicans recently. Liz Cheney. They canceled their own person, Liz Cheney. Why? Because she spoke out against the insurrection on January 6th, right? Bill Cassidy, all those other 17 Republican senators that voted to impeach Trump, they want to cancel them. Samantha Bee, Kathy Griffin, remember when she had the Trump head? Decapitated head?
She got canceled for real.
Very tasteless. You ain't even heard from her no more. Her and Anderson Cooper were like
she got
this.
canceled.
Even Anderson Cooper's like, I can't talk to you, okay?
For real.
If you remember CNN commentator, Mark Lamont Hill, he was speaking against, the unfair treatment of Palestinians in the West Bank. CNN canceled him, shut him off. Colin Kaepernick, the epitome of cancel culture. That's what started all of this, all right? The Dixie Chicks, conservative, Southern Belles, they spoke out against Trump and all of his craziness, canceled by their own, okay?
Yep.
The words climate change and science-based, canceled. You want to go back farther, gentlemen? Jim Crow, literally cancel culture. We're going to cancel your black-ass culture. Get on the back of the bus. You drink over there. Hey, that maybe it was the Democrats at the time, the Dixiecrats. Republicans like to always say, oh, those were Democrats. Not really. Do your history. All right? Interracial marriages, right? That was cancel culture in legislation. In some states, it still exists. Okay? Remember when Trump said that kneeling to protest, when all of the athletes started to kneel to kind of follow with Kaepernick, Trump said all of these guys are sons of bitches. I would pull them up. Sons of bitches, the president of the United States that all y'all Trump supporters love, talking about athletes exercising their right, So the whole cancel culture and the crying of the right wing of you're taking Trump off the platform and Gina Carano can't speak and give her opinion and you took her off the Mandalorian. All right, you could give your opinion, but you represent a brand called Disney, and they have every right to say like, what you're doing, you making our logo look bad. We don't need you no more. Now you could call that cancel culture. I call that's their marketing. That's how they do it.
I think the phrase cancel culture, anytime you can make any phrase or any organization a household phrase in a matter of months, there's power pushing it. Yeah, there's power pushing it. And that's why I listen, public opinion to me is not cancel culture. I'm sick of it. I don't like the phrase. I don't like what it means, because what they're starting to do now is creating a whole thing where people are like, you're canceled, you're this, you're canceled. And it's becoming a thing. And it needs to stop.
Politically and in things going on. Like
and one of our viewers, Maya, I hope I'm saying your name right. Maya said that she believes that Dr. Seuss, only 6 books were removed. Look, none of the books should have been removed. Again, I personally think the illustration should have been changed because that was the only problem. And that's it. And again, that's not cancel culture. Why? Because guess what? The company decided they wanted to do it. It's their company. They can change. Same thing with Coke and any other company. If they want to change something, that's not cancel culture. They feel that they want to make a move, they can make that move. Cancel culture to me is basically, again, public opinion, and the public is very, very, very strong, and they can convince a company if they're going to lose a couple $100 million because of an ad or a book or anything else, they're going to remove it, because at the end of the day, it's about the money, right? think about how many people would have told you, I don't care if they cancel me, but as soon as you lose your job, that's a different level of cancel. And we've seen people lose their job. Look at perfect example. Look at Nick Cannon. Look what happened to Nick Cannon. He made an interview.
Anti-Semitic comments.
He lost. Yeah, he lost a multi-million-dollar show, a brand. I don't know. It looks like they're about to give it back. I guess they talked about some things.
You can't have Wildin' Out without Nick Cannon. It's his baby.
No, and then they tried to give it to your boy DC, and DC was like, "Nah, I ain't doing my boy dirty like that. That takes integrity."
DC who?
Young Fly. DC Young Fly. You familiar with him?
No.
Anyway,
Google.
He's one of the comedians that's on there.
He's probably the heart of the show after Nick, to be honest with you. And Shorty Justine Valentine. But back to at the end of the day, look what they did to him. And again, I don't believe that's cancel culture. I do know when you piss off a powerful group of individuals, whether that be a company in politics or a country with nuclear weapons, they have influence and they can make you change your mind. They can make your life a living hell. So be careful who you disrespect, if and make sure that they're not somehow through one of their affiliations feeding you and your family, because you might make a comment and not know that your employer is connected to the person or the race or the sex or the classification or the gender that you disrespected, and there's repercussions for that. So again, I wouldn't call it cancel culture. I think it's ridiculous. It's always been around. There's nothing new about it. The only thing is it's more powerful because of social media, because social media is an outlet that a lot of people use to make money and to eat. And if you can convince them to cut you off, you can lose you can lose influence and a way to feed your family. So we got to be careful with that.
So just to I'm gonna just pivot a little bit away from it, right? So we had the last couple of days there was a incident with the Asians in Georgia, Max.
Yeah, it was in Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta.
Yes, Mr. Robert Aaron Long, 21-year-old shooter.
8 people, right?
He shot 8 people. I think 6. I don't know if they all passed. I know 6 for sure.
So that's the epitome. Again, you want to talk about cancel culture, and let me say this, I think it goes unspoken too much. We stand with our Asian brothers and sisters who are fighting this discrimination that, let's be frank, this isn't just start, okay? Asians have been having to deal with discrimination in this country. You want to go back to the origins with the Chinese helping build the railroads out here, being treated as second-class citizens. The internment camps of the Japanese Americans, like American citizens, in concentration camps in the U.S., if you want to go there. Yeah, they weren't as bad as Hitler's concentration camps, but, I mean, really? We're doing, like, levels on that? So, the kind of discrimination that our Asian brothers and sisters have dealt with and are dealing with on this rise is disgusting. It's nothing anyone should stand for. We stand with our Asian brothers and sisters as they stand with us. And it's unacceptable. This maniac in Atlanta, what makes me sick about this whole situation? I don't know if you saw the police chief that was reporting on it. Little Kenny had a bad day. He has sexual frustrations, and he just I'm so tired of the police, of the establishment, of
well, Max, say that guy. You know what I mean? Because everybody's not.
Yeah, I don't even know his name. I just made up a name.
I'm saying that guy. You know what I mean? Let's not generalize as we've been.
No, I'm going to generalize because let's go back to Dylan Roof. They brought that little motherfucker McDonald's and Burger King after he killed 9 people in the church.
Yeah,
and they shooting motherfucker. I'm talking about the police.
Yeah, those are bad police chiefs.
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
And there's plenty of them.
But it's not everybody.
It's not every cop. I know, Kobla. But guess what? They don't vet these motherfuckers. You have police that was in the Capitol riots. You got police that get caught with cloaks in their damn closets and the Nazi tattoos on their arm because they don't vet these motherfuckers. They have their little chats on Facebook saying the most racist shit to each other. And those are the same cops I'm going to trust are going to actively and correctly defend and prosecute against these white supremacist maniac motherfuckers who are killing Asian ladies in a massage parlor because you can't deal with the fact that you're an incel and you can't get a fucking girl because you have no personality and no wit and you don't smile. I'm gonna call out the police on that shit. Thank you.
He was like, it was a really bad day for him.
I think it was the worst day for those 8 ladies who lost their life. Can we stop bothering these maniac people of a certain persuasion that makes the audience feel better? It always seems to be them. The FBI has clearly spoken and said, terrorism, it ain't ISIS coming for you. The FBI put out the numbers. The number one cause of terrorism in the U.S. is homegrown, white nationalist, right-wing terrorism. And no one wants to talk about it. You'll never hear about it on Fox. You'll barely hear about it on CNN and MSNBC.
Yeah, I listen. There's no secret that whenever there's any type of headline news that's traumatic or violence, and the perpetrator happens to be a Caucasian, they simply just always give him the benefit of the doubt. They won't release the name for a couple weeks. They won't release his image. They won't show the image. Historically, they've done that.
The Tennessee bomber recently. Thank you. Sorry.
They won't. Yeah, they won't show. They won't show his image. They won't release the name. Again, they're very careful how they cover the story. But when it's one of us or anyone else, they'll say it. 23-year-old so-and-so.
Why is that, D? Why?
Because again, man, the Caucasian race is, and when I say the Caucasian race, I guess I mean our society is run by Caucasian males. I don't think anyone can object that. It's changing slowly but surely, but that's the truth. And I guess they're going to protect their image the best they can as long as they can.
So let me ask this question:
Let me just finish. I think it's self-preservation, and I think anybody in the seat of power would protect themselves if they could, and I think that's what they're doing. So exactly, controlling the narrative. But go ahead, what happened to Kobe? You wanted to speak?
He'll be right back. But I'm gonna give Max. It's been a little bit, and we haven't had a little fun. So Max, it's gonna be that time to return to your sanctum. So we're gonna go. Time for the. So who you roasting today, man?
Oh man, I gotta do it to him. He is my favorite Campbell Soup poster boy. How does this guy have a show? I know why, but it's clown shoes every fucking day. Tucker Carlson. So let's talk about cancel culture. So recently Tucker Carlson on his show. Tucker Carlson's just a great guy. I don't know if you listen to him. I don't, but when you tune in, he's just got such great opinions on everything. And he always looks like he's confused. He always has this dumb, dopey look on his face, right? Because he's a dope. Well, what he
did you see John Oliver's take on Tucker?
I can't wait. I will. Oh, yeah. But what Tucker did recently, right? So recently Tucker, as he does, because he's a misogynist and a racist and a bigot, and we all know it. So what he did, he spoke basically against
women,
females in the military. He gave some opinions that were, in my opinion, probably ungrounded, and basically the military bumped him back. So you had people from the Marine Corps, right, from the Pentagon, defending their female fellow service members to say, hey, you don't know nothing about our females. They are important. We need them on the front line. They are just as important to the operation and the mission as any of our other service members, male. We don't really appreciate what you're saying about them, Tucker. You're wrong. Well, guess what happened? And this is sad because they were correct. But problem is the right wing. And, you got a lot of right-wing or super pro-military folk. A lot of them, they don't mind that the opinions of Tucker. Frankly, they believe it. A lot of them think that females should just play support functions in the military and they shouldn't be fighting side by side. They're not strong enough to pick me up if I fall on the battlefield, right? because you are, Tucker, because you've never served in the military, softy. But what happened was, because you had enough pushback on the right for the Pentagon and for the Marines defending their female service members, they actually came back, issued an apology to Tucker. It was so pathetic and sad. We stepped out of our box. We were wrong. We were trying to, prove the point that we defend our female militaries, but we should not have done that. We will do better next time. We did not mean to attack Tucker Carlson. I'm like, oh, you wusses. You look like Democrats now, just bending over. Why? Because Tucker's fan base of right wingers got upset that you actually checked him. So to me, the reason I'm roasting him is just that I'm not even roasting him. I'm really roasting just this mentality of the right wing to just like turn a blind eye and just be so casual and callous about, they want to cry cancel culture. They want to do it to everyone else. 2 Live Crew, I already gave all the examples of right wing cancel culture. But the minute you flip it on them, the minute you pinpoint them and let them know, oh, heavens to Betsy, me, clutch my pearls. How could you say such things? I'm not a racist. No. Celia, pick up that shit. It's that I don't know how to break through to these people. I don't think you can. But yeah, he's a loser. Respect to the female military service members. I've never served in the military. I have a lot of family that do, a lot of friends that do, and a lot of female family that does. And I couldn't do it. So cancel culture. The right wing are snowflakes. They melt like butter on bread, man.
He said, so we've got new hairstyles and maternity flight suits. Pregnant women are going to fight our wars. It's a mockery of the U.S. military. And my first response was just looking at that. It's like, did you serve in there? Did you do anything physical, or did you just get behind the TV? And
I don't know. Maybe he did. I really don't know. I assume he didn't because he's a trust fund baby, the kid of millionaires. Mm-hmm. I forget what family. I think the Purdue chicken or the Swanson family, whatever the hell they make, chicken nuggets. I don't know, but he's an heir to their legacy or whatever, what have you. So these are like silver spoon. Their hands are softer than buttermilk biscuits, and they always got an opinion on stuff. They're always telling you what the black neighborhood's like, but they ain't never been in one. They always have this crazy opinionated mindset on minorities or ethnicity. What did he say about the Iraqis one time? That they're just a bunch of cave scrubbing idiots. It's amazing. But if you check them on it, then they want to cry bloody murder because they're not snowflakes. So cancel culture, to me, it's a joke. Kind of to the whole gist of what we're talking about this show. Freedom of speech is great. Say what you're going to say. And I frankly don't believe anything should be canceled. I'm a firm believer in, hey, let them say the stupid shit. Let them say the dumb stuff. Enough people hear it. Let people know. Let people know where they stand and take your side with them. If you stand with it, okay, well, I know what you're about. So, yeah, I'm not about cancel culture.
I'm with you on that. And I don't think, again, man, like we spoke earlier, Max, be careful who you root on to be canceled because you never know when it's going to fly your way. And if we accept this where people can lose their jobs and lose their, lose everything because of something they say, we're going to have trouble because I can promise you, bro, we've all said and done things that
we regret.
We regret and can easily get you canceled, and I do, and I don't know, man. I'm sensitive to the fact that when somebody does something stupid and gets caught on our new, on the new wave where everybody has a cell phone, and you just happen to record somebody doing and saying something completely crazy. I, for one, and that's just me, I consider temper. I consider having a bad day. I consider being in a bad situation. And I also consider sometimes to get to somebody, you're going to try to punch them exactly where it's going to get them pissed. And you might not necessarily, and this is how I see it, bro. You may not necessarily be a racist if you happen to call somebody a nigga when you're heated. And I know a lot of people will go against that and be like, nah, once you use the word, I'm smarter than that. You know what I'm saying? I know that if I'm arguing with a particular person and I want to get under their skin. Why? Because they got under mine. I'm gonna look for the words, and I'm gonna look for the vernacular to do exactly that. And if that means that I might say something that I don't necessarily believe to be true, but I know it's going to be effective in this particular verbal altercation, and I want it to hit hard, I may use a word that I don't normally use. And again, this is something that happens in the culture now where it's on tape, and you can lose everything because of that. And that goes for everybody in every way, bro. It's not just white, black. It's everything. Okay. And we can't just you can't just go and call someone a racist, have them lose everything, or a homophobe for that matter, or any other thing, because they were angry and they used the word to get at one particular individual. Now, again, that doesn't mean that they're not racist. It doesn't, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is. And that's just my opinion. Because again, we know that we use words to push buttons, you know. So I think we need to consider that when we're talking about the cancel culture. And you know, and let's spin into something else, because we're talking about cancel culture. We talked about different things. I don't consider. I know it's the same topic. Go ahead.
No, the only thing I was saying is, with Max's point is, like with the military, the reason why they're going to tell them not to do that is because then it can garner an opinion on multiple things, and you don't want to put them in that mix. So you're like, don't give an opinion on nothing about nothing, whether it's Tucker Carlson or anybody else, because that's a slippery slope. I could see someone saying,
yes, because the military needs to look very neutral on everything.
I can see that being a slippery slope. That's all. You know, when you mentioned that, Max, I know HR and military was like, look, shut up and don't say nothing about nothing.
No, I can dig it, but and I think my point is, once again, and I mean, hypothetically, you know, because I don't know what would happen if they said something that was, you know, not against a right-wing talking point, but against a left-wing talking point, and I don't have examples towards it. I promise you, ain't no one crying bloody murder on the left. Like, you know, I mean, it's not a perfect example, but you know, people like to bring up the fact that Biden was the architecture of the crime bill that has helped put a lot of folk of color in jail. So like, oh, how could you vote for Biden versus Trump? Biden did the crime bill. I'm like, I don't ever see I don't think any Republicans were standing on Congress like, oh my God, Biden, what are you doing? You're going to prison so many innocent black men. We're not Republicans. No, they were like, that's why we fuck with Biden.
What I find funny about Max is whenever Max talks about anybody racist,
he changes the voice.
It's always a southern country white.
I can do very many imitations. If you would like me to do it with an Indian voice, I can do that.
He's done it since high school. Since high school.
Or you want me to talk about Meghan Markle?
So what you want to do?
What Meghan Markle has done to the royal family, my God.
Listen, this is what trips me out.
Can you do Bjorn Jensen?
Listen, listen. Let me tell you something, man. We got to be careful, man, because the people who create the media, who control the media, can definitely control the narrative. We got to be very careful with. They'll have you thinking that Democrats are not racist and Republicans are. Let me tell you something. They're all. It don't matter what political affiliation you are, bro. You could be you could be a racist, homophobic, and all the other damn, you know, labels.
Better.
Huh?
Democrats just hide it better.
I don't know if they hide it better as much as the narrative is that they're not. And we follow that bullshit ass narrative. That's what it is. It's just
I agree.
It's just like they're making you think. You would think we're
gotta be objective.
Exactly. They will have you thinking that only Democrats have abortions. Let me tell you something. That's a bunch of bullshit.
Bill Clinton signed that crime bill too.
Yeah, believe it.
Yeah, listen, bro, black folks was on that. Black folks were pushing for that crime bill because at the end of the day, the crack epidemic was out of control.
But the other part of that is thinking about. So this is the politics that people don't pay attention to. Is there are a lot of things tucked in bills that you don't know about.
That's right. That's correct.
You see this one, the headliner. But there's a lot of stuff going
exactly that pork
and this thing going here and this thing going to farmers. And if you really read a bill, you'll see all of those things. But the average layperson does not.
That's a perfect example.
Who's watching C-SPAN, right?
That's how you know how I feel about politics, because that is a no-brainer for me. It's very simple to make a law, which should have been passed a long time ago. Every bill has to stand on its own merit and things that are related to that merit, and period. And that's it. You shouldn't be talking about farms and bringing gun control. You shouldn't be coming about whatever any other topic and bringing another topic, because that's clearly how you get a bill passed without it necessarily being,
no, they negotiate. So that's one thing. You mentioned this a long time ago, and you were like, oh, how these things aren't going to change. And I would challenge anybody to go sit when your state has legislature. Go sit and don't say nothing and just listen, and then you'll be like, son of a gun. And then you'll know that some stuff goes down and you need to pay attention to it a little bit more. But if you don't do that, you're just like, oh, they're just doing their job. You're like, okay.
Yeah, but there should be don't you think there should be a law that says that you can't, if you're talking about, for example, the stimulus package, you're talking about relief for the country, and a lot of people need it. Should gun control really be involved in that? Because obviously there's people who are going to vote no, and now you got people voting no on stimulus because of gun control.
With you. I think the thing that we underestimate is that these are state senators who are going to try to do things for their states.
Yes,
correct.
And no matter what the bill is, they're going to say, well, this is what I need for my constituents, and that is the reason I got elected. I think that's
more their lobbyists than their constituents.
That's the one thing we sleep on, the fact that essentially you are an individual who has to sway and flow with the people who hired you on a regular basis. And if you do not, you will not keep your job. And I think we're like, oh, it's just so simple. I don't know. If there were 10 people that we had to talk to about our job on a regular basis, and Max was like, yeah, but we should be able to do that. And then Dimitri were like, nah, but we shouldn't. I got to flow with you all to make sure I keep my job because you're my boss.
Yeah. I you know what's something I think, and I don't want to, I kind of want to say this, but I'm going to leave it alone because I wanted to bring up something that we didn't bring up, which is Mr. Potato Head. Mr. Potato Head, they're bringing that into cancel culture. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Listen, what is the how do you consider that cancel culture?
I don't even know the premise of the argument. I don't know what the argument was. I have no clue.
He's no longer Mr. Potato Head because essentially, if you want to, I was going to elaborate. Go.
No. Go ahead.
We got 2 minutes, so you can touch on it.
The issue is Mr. Potato Head can put on a female head, a mustache. So basically,
they basically took away the Mr. and they said they wanted gender neutral, which is the new topic that we're coming up with. Gender neutral stuff. To me makes no sense, and it just doesn't make sense. I spoke to many people, and nobody can make it make sense. Gender neutral to me doesn't make sense.
I do think I've heard people make some good points. We do live in a patriarchal society. There's a lot of misogyny. There's a lot of privilege that we have as males that we have to be aware of. And I do think that a lot of that stuff gets manifested down into things that we don't necessarily pay attention to. I'm not saying it's necessarily this, but I can understand that point of how that patriarchal society always being male dominated can have an effect on decisions, as we all know about bosses that we've had, et cetera, et cetera. So just an awareness thing.
So just to help close out, because we got like a couple seconds left. So Av, would you like to leave for the people tonight, man?
Man, listen, we got to. I would like to just say, the cancel culture thing. We got to be very careful with. Let's be aware of the catchphrases that we're starting to throw around just because the media is using them. They're also starting to use social media to create these catchphrases, and we start to just we implement them into our daily speech, and we start to actually form a culture and form a society where we're being manipulated to create these type of thoughts. So be careful, basically be cognizant of what you're saying and make sure it's really what you're saying and not something that was programmed for you to say. You know what I'm saying?
Max, would you like to leave with the people?
I'd like to just say once again, prayers, energy, heart, soul for all of those folks that died in Atlanta yesterday, those females Asian females who died. Once again, we stand with our Asian brothers and sisters. We stand with all people. I stand with my white brothers and sisters, Asian brothers and sisters. But end of the day, this frankly one-sided attack on people of ethnicity and culture that are not the majority. Just trying to be as PC as I can about it. It's disgusting. Keep your eyes open, head on a swivel. Look out for each other, protect each other. We live in each other's communities. And Asian community and black community, we there's issues, garbage food in the hood. Let's talk about it. But same time, end of the day, and injustice against one person is injustice against all people, right? That's not my quote. I think it's Martin Luther King. But end of the day, more power to my Asian brothers and sisters. Be strong. We stand with you. Please stand with us as well.
Ted, would you like to leave some for the people?
Yeah, I think when it comes to cancer culture or, discrimination or injustice against anybody, I think, we always have to ask the question why. And as kids, we ask a million whys, and you get dumbed down as we get older, especially our culture gets dumbed down to just go with the status flow, to try to fit in, to try to assimilate. And the brilliance about our creativity and culture is when you begin to challenge things and objectively look and say, yeah, I think I want to, but why is that? And why is that thing like that? That's when you begin to have dialogue. You begin to question things that allow you to see how things are really motivated and allow you to continue to grow. And I challenge that anything that's going on, whether you believe it or not, ask questions. You know what I mean? Ask questions and find out what's really going on. Get an understanding of why it is the way it is. Because a lot of times you'll find something that maybe you didn't know was there, and that causes you to think a little bit differently. And I think that and being open to dialogue about those things are very important for us to continue to move forward.
Respect. And I appreciate everybody coming back to join us for Coffee for Your Soul tonight after a brief hiatus, but we back, and we're gonna be back in 2 weeks, 2 weeks to be back and on another great topic. I think we're gonna touch on police involvement with monies. Max, was that the topic? What was the topic about?
Yeah, maybe how police accountability versus mega payouts to keep you silent.
Yeah.
Something we might need to talk about.
Yeah. So we got, I always want to appreciate all the followers that we have on the show. We look forward to seeing you guys next week. And like we talked about cancel culture, it's just like speak the truth, man. And like if you don't want to talk to somebody, don't talk to them. But I'm just saying all this silliness and topic from political to personal and everything like that. Oh, as Koba said, we just hang up on you. So much love, fam. Coffee for Your Soul.
Oh, one more. Kirk Franklin. You damn right. Let him know. Hey,
all right.
F them.